So today we're gonna talk about unemployment in 2020. All right. I'm currently employed, but I did sit at the house for a very long time.
Mhm.
So I couldn't even imagine anybody being unemployed, plus sitting at the house, plus dealing with life shit. So tell me a little bit about, I guess, kind of your take on unemployment in 2020, maybe some experience that you've had, and just kind of like what you feel about it. I mean, anything, all this COVID shit, people walking around wearing masks, just whatever.
Yeah, it has been like uh, I thought life was like hard to juggle, but
Mm-hmm.
throwing COVID in it, and mind you, like this is like probably like my second time actually being laid off and being in oil and gas and everything like that. I think, from my aspect, I think we've been hit the most, especially here in Texas. So, um, at first, it was like, we all was sitting at home and going through
Mm-hmm.
quarantine. And I started to appreciate that aspect because being a mom, I was
Okay.
starting to like really enjoy like being able to get my kid up and cook dinner and things like that. But then I was still being active, doing something, still, clocking in, clocking out. And then, when you get laid off, and then you're still dealing with the COVID and trying to be safe, and it takes a toll on you. And at first I was fine.
Right.
I was really like, okay, this shit, I'm fine with this shit. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
already like, up to here with all the gas and all the bullshit that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
And just like out of nowhere, depression hit and anxiety
Right.
hit. And
Right.
it was I'm still, it just recently hit me. Um, and it was scary because at the end of the day, I'm still responsible for my son and still, a provider, a single mom. And,
Mm-hmm.
not having that control, I think people get that misconception from the media that, yeah, we all in it, but we all have, yeah, we all are unemployed, but we all have our shit on top of that, that people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that the things then that we have to deal with inside the home, people don't know how it is.
Right.
And after a while it takes a toll on you because you, at first, I was applying for jobs, like I'm supposed to, and
Mm-hmm.
trying to get financially back in control of the situation. And you really don't hear back from anybody, and you
Right.
had to think, okay, yeah, oil and gas, we got a huge hit, we're all in the same bubble. But then you start, I guess for me, I started getting responses. I guess things are starting to pick back up a little bit, and I guess people are trying to figure out how, some people, some of my colleagues and friends I know, some of them are going back into the office, so I guess they're trying to balance it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like now people are in office and actually have the time to like actually reply to you. And I
Mm-hmm.
just started getting like, let that you're having, you're not going forward as a candidate or whatever. And I guess that like actually hit me,
Right.
so. And I just, went into depression thinking. And depression, I think also people have to understand, is not just it's a mental thing, but it also affects your body.
Yeah, that's true.
I work out, and like I said, it hit me out of nowhere to the point where I thought, I went to sleep trying to go to sleep one night, and I literally had to jump up because I could not breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking, okay, do I have COVID?
Right.
And
Right.
rush to the
Just
emergency room.
paranoia all over the place.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
it's just, you just get in your head. And they did chest x-ray on me stomach, because then you're having problems with your stomach, and before you know it, you're not eating, you're not doing what you're supposed to do, and it before you know it, it just takes a whole control over you. So it's a hard thing to deal with.
Right. And I
Yeah.
think it's interesting that you've highlighted that kind of mood switch or those emotions
Mm-hmm.
and depression and feeling that, because I think everybody, well, not everybody, but most people have been focusing more so on the employment factor
Mm-hmm.
and the health and safety factor as it relates to people not getting sick and dying.
Yeah.
But it's different when you have a routine. And we've talked about this
Mm-hmm.
previously,
Yeah.
before the call, but it's different when you have a routine and that routine is taken away, and then you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to gather and find this sense of consistency, and you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to also stay productive and not become paranoid and feel depressed with everything that's going on that you can't really control.
Yeah.
And with you got a lot of factors. I mean, you have a son, you're a single mother, bills still got to get paid, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah.
And so you being laid off, especially during this time, people not responding, and then it's rough because when you've been employed and you have the skills, but they're not responding, it's like, okay, is it me, or
Yeah.
is it budget cuts, or
Yeah.
has this company gotten rid of my position? So now you start to shit. I can even imagine some people questioning their worth,
Worth.
on a
Yeah.
professional level. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, because even for me, when we went into COVID closure, I was at home and I was working from home. And I think I was along the same lines of you, feeling like, oh, this is cool. I ain't tripping. Like that first maybe, I don't know, month and a half, I was straight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, hell yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've been waiting to work from home. Like, this what's up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shit, I get to sleep in, wake up,
Yeah.
answer a few emails, watch TV, eat, sleep again. Like, I was good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, man, I'm not gonna lie, right around that like 90-day mark, that 3 month mark,
Yeah.
I start feeling like, man, what the fuck am I doing with myself?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you run out of home workouts to do. You can
Mm-hmm.
only sleep so much.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're not used to that, because pre-COVID, I was on the go, because on
Yeah.
top of my full-time job, I got clients outside of work. I
Mm-hmm.
have my own thing, my own brand, my own online business as well. So
Mm-hmm.
it's only so much you can do from home that takes you out of the mind frame of I'm being lazy and unproductive,
Mm-hmm.
because you used to leaving the house and then being gone for 6 to 10 hours at a time. But when you can't really do that,
Doing it.
it's
Yeah.
it's like, damn. And
Yeah.
I don't have any children, so I'm sitting up in the house by myself feeling like I'm in
Yeah.
prison,
Yeah.
because I don't have
Yeah.
nothing else to kind of take my mind off of what's going on or what's not going on or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's this really weird space, because I think all the health shit really didn't bother me like that.
Yeah.
Being afraid of COVID or feeling like I'm gonna catch it and die and all of this. I'm just like, hey man, I ain't gonna be around nobody like that, so I'm good. But
Yeah.
what we haven't really talked about, well, what I haven't really seen in mass media, is what you're discussing as far as the
Mm-hmm.
depression factor and
Mm-hmm.
kind of like being vulnerable to not being able to control what the fuck is going on, you
Yeah.
know?
You question your mental, and
Right.
um like I said, when I went to therapy, I went like recently, like last
Mm-hmm.
Friday, because I, it was days of just like crying and trying to figure out like what the fuck, like what
Mm-hmm.
is going on with me. I'm healthy, you tell yourself these things, these things, but your mind is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're dealing with COVID, and the news, and just it's a lot, it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of information. And for me, like, I'm a mom, so I have to remain composed at a lot of times in my
Mm-hmm.
home, because I don't want to. My
Right.
son is easily to be feared.
Mm-hmm.
He feared death. I feel like I lost my first son. That's another thing. I feel the whole depression, another trigger of my depression that I've been dealing with, is that my oldest son, my firstborn, would have been 16 this month.
Wow.
And that was something I felt like I was okay with. I'm open about it. Like, you and I talk, I'm an open book. I feel like the things that I've been through is what made me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was just that the the unknown, or just to having to, know that I possibly would have had a 16-year-old, and just a lot of things that you just never know, that we think we're okay with, but at some point, we, like, especially for our culture, we're taught, you deal with it: death, lose a job,
Mm-hmm.
breakups, you know, whatever hardship in life, you deal with it and you move on. And yes, yeah, that, but at the end of the day, you keep, burying that in you. At some point like this, it blew up for me,
Yeah, for sure.
and so just like, I've always felt like I've worked since I was 14. Like I said, this was my second layoff. My first layoff, I knew when my exit date was. I had my job the next week.
Right.
So this is the longest I've ever been without a job since I was 14.
Wow.
So I felt like I've always maintained some type of control, always been financially supportive of myself and my son, just never really had to, like, um had ever needed anybody,
Mm-hmm.
to, and I guess that's another thing. I don't feel like I can ever rely on anyone to have my back if I ever, needed anything. And I guess that's all a part of that fear and
Mm-hmm.
not having control over anything.
Right.
Um, but it's just that, like I said, it's just a lot of things that people don't know with the COVID and the unemployment. And I see a lot of, domestic violence, like you and I,
Yeah.
we're both single, so I don't have to deal
Thanks.
with that. But
Right.
I can understand it
Mm-hmm.
when you don't know how to control things. You're not getting, you, like you said, you question your worth. Like, I've
Mm-hmm.
been in oil and gas for 20 fucking years. I know my
Right.
damn job. So where the hell,
Yeah.
and then I get these calls from people who want to revamp my resume. My resume has been fine all this time,
Right.
and, but then you question, like, okay, are they right? Do I need to revamp my resume? Do I have to,
Mm-hmm.
take a second look at myself and say, and then, and also you have to take in consideration budget, like you mentioned, budget.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've been in oil and gas 20 something years. I know my cap. I don't have
Right.
nothing below that. I know my worth. I have the experience. But then now, with companies trying to survive, which I also understand, now you're possibly looking at people who are just graduating, because they have to pay what you pay me full, you can pay them half.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just been a lot to actually juggle mentally on the why. And I've always been a person that always, I'm not like black and white. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
person, like, I dissect the shit out of something. And um I always think of, what if I do it this way, and that, it's just like
Mm-hmm.
writing a paper. You have a main topic, and then you have all of these,
Mm-hmm.
bubbles of different,
Yeah.
what wins and whys, and the pros and the cons. So
Right.
that's just mentally, it's a lot for me, but that's just how my brain operates.
Right.
And you can't really shut it on and off.
No, and
So
and you
yeah.
shouldn't, because that's a part of your personality and character, which has brought you this far, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So another thing too that I've experienced within my profession is that, a lot of things with fitness have, you know, up until March of 2020 have
Hmm.
primarily been in person, unless
Yeah.
you write a book or ebook or something like that,
Hmm.
or you got some type of YouTube or whatever.
Hmm.
But with COVID, what I've kind of noticed and seen is that a lot of companies are looking to restructure their scope of work.
Hmm.
Like, they're looking to restructure and then revisit how they make money, where they add value without people, quote unquote, being in person or being around.
Hmm.
So it's kind of rough, because I've also seen a lot of people get laid off, not only with my previous client, but with my new client as well, here in the corporate setting of fitness. And I've seen a lot of people's jobs get consolidated, to
Hmm.
where you were doing just one specialty thing. Now that one person is, in essence, doing three different jobs.
Mm-hmm.
because they let people go to cut costs. And then to your point, they can bring in someone new and then say, oh, well, they don't really have no experience, but they have the same type of skill set, just maybe not as polished. But because of that, we can pay them less and we can hire two of them for one of you.
Yeah.
And that's rough because they look at that on paper and it makes sense and it's good for
Mm-hmm.
business, but it's terrible for people, right?
Yeah, I also
And
think, like from when I got laid off, and I'm not trying to put any company on blast, but it's not just, the company that I was laid off from. Like when I was laid off, they
mhm,
replaced somebody in my spot, and that's
mhm,
the hard part. And that's
mhm,
the main reason why I don't like. I've seen, like I said, I've been in oil and gas since I was 19, and I've seen a lot of fucked up shit.
mhm,
And I guess my whole thing, only way that I will go back to it is financially. If I absolutely have to,
right.
um, but do I want to go back to that type of industry who really, at the end of the day, judge you on the basis of your color of your skin? I'm never going to have the same opportunity as a white woman.
Okay.
They're going to look out for their own before they look out for you. It does not matter how I've been loyal to a lot of fucking companies. Like, mind you, my son is going to be 15. The
Mhm,
15 years that I've worked being a single mother, I have hardly taken off for any I've never been that person to call in or not do my job, or
mhm,
being a person who likes to learn new things, and that type of thing. But when you see certain things, I'm just not a person that I just don't want to be a part of that, and I've seen a lot of, like you, I've seen a lot of colleagues being laid off, and
mhm,
um, really not necessarily the job was really, cut and added
mhm,
to another person. It was
right,
cut and you brought somebody else in of a different
right.
race.
Very true.
And that's another thing that adds to the depression. And,
Mhm,
you know, um, and I guess also for me, the problem with a lot of oil and gas is that they always just like do the work. They don't care to know, what you have going on at the house. Mind
mhm,
you, I was laid off. I was the only person in my department that was a single parent that was
mhm,
laid off. And but you allow the person that you replaced me with from a different department was married,
mhm,
and it was just like you just were what I guess the added to the depression was where or what was your how did you come down to these lists of people on why you laid them off? Was it,
mhm,
because like mind you, it's based on COVID, you know, and I don't know if at the time they didn't think it would be as bad, but when people's lives are being or if when people are
in
dying,
jeopardy. Yeah.
it ain't no way from being 7 months unemployed to the first month being unemployed makes a difference. People's lives were, people are losing their lives. And so I just didn't never understood like what was your reason for letting a single mother go, and you're um saving or or making people save who has a whole spouse, or or have the means, and to survive on the income,
Mhm,
so it, it's 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 kind of hard, just heart wrenching. Like you give your all to a company, and doesn't matter what you've done for them, that you're not taking in consideration. That's not taken in consideration for that.
right.
So.
I think too, and stop me at any point that I'm wrong, but
Hmm.
a lot of times those factors are typically not considered by an older leadership team.
Hmm.
So what I'm getting to is that if the people on the top level, if they are in a 70s, or if they in
Mm-hmm.
their 60s or whatever, mid 60s or some shit, and they white, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they're not connected to what you might or may be going through unless they
Mm-hmm.
actually know you. But how
Mm-hmm.
often do those groups of people naturally get to know not just you but the rest of their employees unless they're directly connected to the employees that they might look like?
True.
So, you know,
Yeah.
it's one of them things where they don't know, or they're not connected to you being a single mother with kids, because they may not be like that, and they come from a different era in time where they wasn't considering no black people anyway.
Yeah,
So
I think it's different when you see it,
hmm,
and they're connected with other people.
right,
You know what I'm saying? Like
for
it's
sure.
different where you see them, they calling people by their first name. It's
Oh
a
yeah,
person. It's
yeah,
you see it all the time. You see,
of course.
the favorites, and you bring in your friend's daughter, don't have a lick of experience, but in order for me to get the
None.
job, like that, it's just a lot, of things that you you see, and you like, okay, why do I have to abide by the rules? But you've been there for this person, and but like I said, I feel like with the whole laying off, I feel like it comes from the head on the decision that they're going to make layoffs or budgets, but it also is flat, spread it out to the managers on how you think your department can work based on eliminating, or how you gonna like the company I came for, they had did a whole revamping prior to, and they were laying off, last year. So they were already figuring out on how to remove her things. So I feel like a lot of times there's a lot of meetings being done with the managers with they had some say in some things. But it, like I said, at the end of the day, it is what it is. Mentally, it's just things that you question that you can't help your mind just to, question. The whole, mental health. I've always, heard it. I've always believed in it. People having mental health issues and things like that. I just never knew firsthand.
Got you.
And it was like, I was at one point, I was crying to my mom, like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Not really. It's like you're up, and I can't, and it's like you're up, and you're breathing, and you're up, and you're seeing everything, but your mind, you don't even know what the hell your mind is thinking about.
Hmm.
Or your mind is like pounding, and you not it's not one thing I can actually tell you what I'm thinking about.
Right.
And so it just got to the point where my therapist was like, you need to get back into a routine, because after Thanksgiving I didn't have clients. Everybody kind of went on break, um and I just stopped, working out. and
Man, yeah, that's
and it was just like overnight. I worked out that day, and that Saturday, ate, went to bed, feeling good, had just worked out, and
hmm,
it was just like a flick of a switch,
hmm,
and I could not turn it off. And it's been like 2 weeks. Like this week, I've had, a great week. Um,
hmm,
I went to my OB, and I think a lot of women need to know that, yeah, we go to our OBG, and, you think, oh, you'll get your Wells Woman's and your body parts checking out or whatever. But your OB is also, you have to think that women like me deal with postpartum, deal with
hmm,
loss and things like that. And if you talk to them, they will help you. If you need something as far as medication, you don't necessarily have to go to a therapist or a psychiatrist to pay that fee in order for them to prescribe something. You can go to your OB and tell them how you're feeling, especially if they know your history. My doctor knew my history of, that I had postpartum, and had to, bury my son. She knew everything that I dealt with. So she extended, if you need anything, I can help, to give you something. And I think also women need to understand, when it comes from your OB, it's a lot healthier for the woman body versus what psychiatrists give you. The psychiatrist is going to give you the same prescription, for you
Mm-hmm.
and I,
Okay.
Zoloft and, a number of them. But for a
Okay.
woman aspect, it's for, it's not as hard on you. And so I was shocked when I talked to my OB on Monday, and, and she sat there and she listened. She knew when she called me last, in September, um, to see how, we're doing. And I mentioned to her that I got laid off. And when I talked to her on Monday, she was like, "Oh, how you doing? I know you got laid off. How's it going?" And, and I kind of cried and I told her it's
Yeah.
hard.
Right.
And so she sat there and she took the time, she listened, she said, "It's a lot. You've been through a lot, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so she knew about, it being December and me losing my son and coming up 16 years. And it was just good to know that my doctor knows my history. And when you have somebody
Mm-hmm.
who knows you, it's easy, and
Mm-hmm.
she didn't second guess. I'm a phone call away. If you need me, let me know. If you need any, prescription. At that point, I was like, had already talked to my therapist, and we had already like, did a treatment plan, get back on the schedule, don't let myself, always have something planned for the next day. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I plan on doing some yoga sessions and just picking up some hobbies, and, make sure that I get up to work out every day like I usually do, and just not let myself go into that deep, spiral.
Right. So it
So,
sounds like they're telling you the healthy way to combat your feelings of depression is to maintain and sustain some type of schedule so that
mhm,
you remain consistent in your everyday routine. But I want to ask if COVID and unemployment and kind of being in your own space has helped you, I guess, explore new ways for self affirmation, or have you learned anything new about yourself during this time? So I
oh,
guess for
definitely.
I guess for example, like, some people to be like, journaling has helped me, deal with
Mhm,
some of this stress, or watching YouTube videos and trying to find other people who are dealing with maybe some of the same things I'm dealing with has kind of helped me, or talking to family and friends. I know you say you've talked to your mom,
mhm,
but does anything kind of stand out for you that has helped you kind of move through this? Because even, with December, and then with December kind of triggering that loss of your son
mhm.
16 years ago, I still feel like you lasted a pretty long time, more than most people, without feeling like super overwhelmed, or kind of like that climax moment of, super depression.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I think, like I told my therapist, I feel like with COVID and unemployment, you're doing nothing.
Hmm.
You are it's like you're literally in prison.
Right.
And,
Yeah, I felt that.
when we are employed, you're on a day to day,
Right.
like literally when I had my kids,
Mhm.
that was like, 6 weeks,
Mhm.
for both. When I lost my first son, 6 weeks, I was back at work,
Mhm.
not to say that after I lost him, I literally, that 6 weeks I stayed in the house, but
Mhm.
it wasn't to the point like I am now. I feel like I was 60 years ago, I was much younger, and it wasn't, 16 years more of shit.
Mhm.
And that is also, piled up in there. But I feel like you really don't have, I never really had time to really think about it. Like I said, I have another son. And so
Mhm.
December has always been, my thing was, once I had another son, I was like, okay, I can't make December horrible for him.
Right.
I can't let, you know, my feelings, or, not to say that I didn't deal with it. I over the years, I've cried in the shower, or I, in a car crying or whatever. I just never wanted to like make December, being Christmas is my birthday. For years I never did anything for my birthday,
Mhm.
and so because I lost him 2 days after my birthday,
Wow.
so it was always something that I just never not to say I never dealt with. I feel like I talk about it all the time to try to make myself feel better, but you still have to have some type of feeling about it. It's just something that's never going to go away. Not to say that I'm not at peace with it. I feel I'm at peace with it. I feel, God has a reason for everything. When I had my first son, I only wanted one, at the
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, no, God had another one in there for me.
Right.
And, when
Right.
you
Right.
have other plans for yourself and you put that restriction on yourself, God tells you, gives you throws a wrench in there. And I'm gonna say that the loss is a wrench, but I just try to, look at the positive. And I think we talked about that. I always look at things that even though it's a negative thing happen, I always try to look at the positive.
Right.
But with the COVID, it helped me to like I said, me and my family was never really, close over the years. Don't was not like I was never a person that talked to my mom every day
Oh wow.
or my dad. It was just like, I knew that was my parents. I had, my family, but we just throughout the years just had our issues. And so
Hmm.
when COVID hit and people were losing their lives, it puts things in perspective.
Yeah.
And I looked at, COVID as, getting me right with my family, despite, being unemployed and, appreciating the, things that you do have control over. I have control over, I have my mom. Some people don't have their moms.
True.
And a lot of people don't have their family. 300,000 plus people have died. So the small shit doesn't matter at that point,
Yeah.
So, and then, being a mom, I always felt that I take care of my son to provide for him, be the best and guide him in the right ways. And I'm not going to say I'm 100% perfect, but I'm always there as much as I can for everything.
Hmm.
But the little things, not being able to, simple things, making breakfast in the morning for school,
Hmm.
or, being able to cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and just having movie night and, having activities and just things that, stay at home moms do, doing
Hmm.
laundry,
Right.
appreciation for the little shit that I had to do because I worked, you know, 40, 50 hours, 60 hours, 80 hours, depending on what, at, what point
What
in my
was
life
going
I was
on?
working.
Yeah.
But, not being able to have the energy to, do laundry or,
Hmm.
take my kid to go to a basketball game, just different things like that that you
Hmm.
take for granted, and here is my son's about to be 15 and I'm
Hmm.
looking back and I wish the fuck I would have traveled more, or, we would have did a lot more things, because at the end of the day, here I am unemployed for
Hmm.
companies that I've been over ass backwards for, and not
Hmm.
not one damn person called to check on me,
Right. Yeah.
and you just you get your priorities straight. Because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, no matter what you do for companies and things like that, and as you
Hmm.
should as an employee, but at some point some common decency in return would be appreciated, and
Hmm.
it's never that way. And that's one thing I've learned over the years, is that you just have to prioritize better
Right.
and insert yourself in that as well,
Hmm.
you know
Yeah, I know. I know. For me, I like to always keep my energy balance between my professional and personal. So,
hmm
if anybody's around me, I ain't talking about work unless you ask me about work,
yeah.
because that's where it's at. It's at work.
hmm
So I get in. I keep a planner. I get everything done on time, most of the time ahead of time. I answer all my emails and all of that shit.
hmm
I hit my objectives. A lot of times I create objectives for myself, because
hmm
what I've noticed as we're speaking to employment, especially working in the corporate setting, is that they don't naturally care about us.
yeah.
And they naturally think that as Black people, maybe we're not as smart, or we're not as efficient,
hmm
or we gonna at some point act crazy, or some point cause drama or chaos, when most of the time we can be the calmest people in the room. We can
hmm
have the best morals in the room, the best home training in the room, you know what I
hmm
mean, the best
yeah.
skill set, in the room. So what I like to do for me is always make sure I position myself to add this overwhelming amount of value. And then
Mhm.
when I'm out in the world, I'm exploring other opportunities for income, or other opportunities for earning potential.
Mhm.
So I'm looking into owning certain businesses or investing in certain things or certain companies.
Mhm.
So I say that to ask you, have you also ventured into or looked into other ways to establish income or increase earning potential for yourself during this COVID period?
Yeah, we met from our previous employers,
Right.
and I started working, getting back into working out because I gained a lot of weight,
Hmm.
because letting work take over,
Yeah.
and letting yourself go, and just thinking things are good. We get comfortable,
Hmm.
and you think you're set, and you start eating good, and and all those things, the little things don't matter anymore, and you just kind of let yourself go. So I started working out, and last year I started saying, I think I want to, get certified, be a personal trainer, and got, just so happened COVID hit, got in, unemployed, and I just did a fast, hit the fast forward button on it to
Okay.
get it, and so got certified, and so I'm building, a business out of that. But it was another thing that I've always wanted to do. I always wanted to be a realtor. I
Okay.
love architects. I just love houses, and so it just opened up my eyes to different opportunities. At that point, I knew, um being, even when I was still employed, I was giving myself 5 years. I was already
Hmm.
had like a stopwatch. I already had like time running out for me. And once my son was done with high school, I was out. Like, the
Hmm.
only reason why I stayed in oil and gas as long is because it has given me the amazing opportunity to take care of my son
Right.
and be able to provide and live in the areas that we live, and just give him the things that I didn't have growing up,
Hmm.
and so I'm very grateful for that. But I got to the point where I knew that the goals I set for myself in that industry was never my goals. It was always the last company we worked for. They always wanted us to set goals, but my goals has always changed for me.
Okay.
Like, how you gonna tell me what the fuck my goals are, and that's my goals, and so
Yeah.
it just started making me just not love it anymore, and
Hmm.
I want to love what the fuck I'm doing, because
Right.
at the end of the day, I put my all into everything that I do. That's the
Hmm.
whole point. It's the reason why I lasted in it this long. This is the reason why I bust my ass for everything that I have, because I have passion behind it. But at the end, when COVID hit, I just looked at it as it was an opportunity, to do what I want to do, work for myself. I ain't trying to work for nobody else. I want to,
Hmm.
really enjoy. My son's a freshman. I want to enjoy, these last 4 years. I have him home,
Right.
and just, show him that there's more, I want him. Yes, I want you to get a degree and everything like that. I want you to know the difference. I want you to see, you seen your mom, for your 15 years work for another company, and
Hmm.
how hard that was. But here's how it is when you work for yourself,
Hmm.
And so I just want the opportunity just presented itself. I'm not a person that just sits on my ass and just wait.
Hmm.
I'm going to try to seek every opportunity that I can. Now, I think we also talked about, you talked about my Instagram videos and my rants, and you was the
Yeah.
first person that
Yeah.
said that people always say you need to like be doing something. You need
For
to be
real though.
doing a YouTube channel, whatever, because I just have different views of stuff, and so I'm just seeking different opportunities. Like I said, financially, I will go back to oil and gas, but it would just be, at the point where I'm like desperate, you
Okay.
know.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it really opened up my eyes to other opportunities, and of doing what I really really love, and just taking control over my life. Because oil and gas has always had my control. you get up, you had to clock in, you clock out. If they wanted you to work late, you didn't have no choice. Like you was just like a yes man.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be like that anymore. COVID, one thing COVID has taught me, like I love, going to bed when the fuck I want, and I love getting up when the fuck I want, and I love
Okay.
just like if I want to go to the store, I can go to the store. I don't have to ask it to nobody. I don't
I
have to
got
ask
you.
for permission.
Yeah.
So it just gave me a different insight, of actually having control, and not only that, like seeing you and just different trainers and just different people, period. Everybody's coming out and being entrepreneurs. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just
Right.
that's amazing to see, especially for our culture, to see that, there's real people out there busting their ass and wanting more for themselves. And I just see this, things after COVID, things are gonna be different. It
Mm-hmm.
ain't gonna be the white man on top. I just I don't want that for my son to have to answer to somebody, and at the end of the day they want to, have control over him and on what he can do and what goals he set for himself. So but yeah, COVID really opened my eyes to a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, for me, I thought I was gonna love working at home.
Yeah.
Like for years, with our shit, I can say our now, with our previous
Hmm.
client, or
Hmm.
our previous employer, shit, I was opening all the damn time. So I was waking up
Hmm.
at 4 some in the morning, going
Opening
up
up the gym.
there, opening up the gym, sitting up there. I be shit. By the time 8:30 roll around, I be fighting sleep. I got to close
Yeah.
my office door. Like, man, don't nobody come in here because I'm about to take me a 20-minute nap just like
Yeah.
this. But then I moved over to who I'm with now. I have a bigger staff here, and I think I was maybe here for about a month before
Hmm.
we went into COVID closure. So
Hmm.
I'm thinking like, man, I just got a new position. Well, really, my position didn't change, just the responsibility increased because it's a
Hmm.
slightly bigger client, more staff, bigger budget. You know how that go.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I'm making more money, and then
Hmm.
they send me home to keep making the same amount of money, but just do what I do from home minus
Yeah.
the fitness center part. So I'm thinking,
Hmm.
oh man, this shit about to be live. Man, and
Yeah.
like I told you about that 90-day mark, I was like, man, I'm in jail. Like I felt like somebody was just putting money on my books every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I did not like that shit. So
Yeah.
COVID actually taught me that even if I am to call my own shots and work for myself, as I, progress myself to transition into being just solely, sufficient, self-sufficient as far as
Hmm.
my earning potential,
Yeah.
on top of the investments that I want to make for myself, it kind of taught me that I ain't built to just be trapped in the house like that.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you, if you're given the opportunity to have a position or be in a position to make, all the money you need or take care of yourself and your son, but you do that strictly from home, do you think that's something that you would be comfortable doing? Based on what you've learned from COVID and being able to wake up and cook breakfast and do
Hmm.
all the types of things that, housewives and stay at home moms get to do? Or
Yeah.
would you prefer to kind of get back out in the field doing something, even if it's not oil and gas, but just doing something that allows you to get back into that routine of getting up, leaving the house, being somewhere, and then coming back home?
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like at the end of the day, I guess for me, dealing with depression and, being diagnosed and know that I'm not crazy and everything, and, having a clear mind, I feel like at the end of the day, it was cool. Like I worked, the first few months in quarantine, and I felt that it was great for me. But that interaction, that although with COVID you can't really have any interaction, but just having, even though you have to be 6 feet apart, that conversation, is still something that our minds need. At the end of
Yep.
the day, it just can't really just cut it off. Like, I'm 41, so it's like 41 years of having, human contact, and just going into all, just being comfortable, like normal. And when you just, want to cut it all off and work from home,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can probably do it, because I'm still being active and everything like that, and still, providing income and do the same thing, doing it for the past few, the beginning of COVID. I loved it. Some people don't, I know some people prefer just to work from home because they don't have to deal or see their boss, or, just certain things like that. But I mean, I'm open to whatever, as long as it, allows me to continue on providing, for my kid.
Okay.
You just have to adjust. I don't think that, everything goes 100% how we want it. You just have
Mm-hmm.
to make the best. I'm a person that always, like I said, balance my pros with cons and how it's going to work, for me, not just for me, but for my kid. And I always have to take him into consideration for everything. So I would have to see how everything has to work out. But I really would be leaning to, you know, doing what I want versus working from home and having to answer somebody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel it. I
Yeah.
feel it. It's different. It's definitely different. I'm not gonna lie. I would love to work for myself. Like I
Hmm.
said, that is the goal, but I don't know if I can just sit in the house like that. Like that shit gave me
Yeah.
goosebumps, after a
Yeah.
certain amount of time.
Yeah.
But that's good though. Yeah, it's been cool. I think a lot of people, they needed this. A lot of people are going through a lot of the things that you're going through.
Hmm.
And, most people are not speaking out on it because also too within our community, it's frowned upon to
Yes.
say that you're depressed or
Yeah.
say that you went to go see a therapist or say
Hmm.
that you need help. They tell us to just, men and women, black men and
Hmm.
women, to just tough it out and, get over it, or,
Yeah.
at best make a plan, but you ain't got to go talk to nobody for that shit. You supposed to figure that out by yourself.
Yeah.
So, for you to kind of step out and say like, hey, I need help. I didn't reach my breaking point, if you
Hmm.
will. I need something,
Yeah.
because what
And
I'm
it's
doing is
always
not working.
good to like talk to somebody else,
Right.
like I felt like this was my second time, having a therapist. I had did one like a few years ago when I lost my biological dad, but
Mm-hmm.
um it releases things, you think you talk to people or whatever, but when you get a person who don't know you, it's
Mm-hmm.
just something about talking to somebody who don't know not a damn thing about you to prejudge you,
Right.
and just really just sit there and actually listen and let you just be one with your emotions and just, ask you questions and trying to guide you, kind of unraveling your mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how it was for me, because it was just started off with thinking that it was about unemployment, but
Okay.
it was once, we start to talk more, it was just more things that I had inside, that it just takes that one thing, and you
Right.
think it's one thing, but it's gonna pull out all the other shit.
For
And
sure.
and at some point, you
Yep.
can only stuff that shit in for so long. And don't wait to be my age and you don't know how to control it. It's
Mm-hmm.
good to like, and like you say, it's frowned upon. I express to you that I'm a person that's very open, because I don't know what I deal with is going to help somebody else. I
Mm-hmm.
don't hear people talk about how they're dealing with unemployment and being unemployed with COVID. We just hear that you're not by yourself, it's so many
Mm-hmm.
people and they give you the number or whatever, but no one's actually
Yeah,
saying
but that shit don't
this
make you
is the
feel better.
shit.
Yeah.
Okay, that don't make me feel better, because
Right.
yes, we all together, but at the end of the day, I'm the only one that's responsible for this house.
That's right.
My house don't have nothing to do with that person's house. What I deal with in my house is not the same as what that person's dealing with in their house.
Mm-hmm.
One person's employed here, maybe six unemployed there.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not the same. We
Right.
just have one thing in common. We're not working. We don't have any income. I may
Right.
get unemployment, but my income from unemployment benefits is not the same as the next person. So
Very
we're
true.
not, so not only top of that, yeah, I have one kid, but somebody may have supporting four,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's a lot, because at the end of the day, you're trying to control your mental at the same time trying to raise kids, or at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, trying to support a wife or a husband, or like everybody's situation is different. And for me, I'm fortunate I'm only responsible for myself and my son, but that's just not how the world is. It's not just them and just themselves that they're
Mm-hmm.
supporting. Some people take care of their parents, and so
Yep.
it's not the same. And it can take just my mental shit. Just imagine somebody having it 10 times worse,
Right.
and
Right.
no one's allowing or having that conversation open up, or even sometimes it just helps us for me. you know I can say that I'm okay, but when somebody asks or check on you, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
It's different when somebody is like, hey, like when I got laid off, a lot of my coworkers were like, a lot of my colleagues that I consider friends, they were like, are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because bitch, you're not in control. You're
Yeah.
you're this is the first time you're not working. And at the time I'm like, no, I'm fine. I felt no joke when they messaged me, HR.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the phone with my mom. I was on the
Okay.
phone with my whole family on Messenger, and I was like, I think I'm about to be let go. And they were like, why the fuck is you smiling? Because
Right.
I wanted this, and you think you wanted it. I think I knew that I needed I knew that my body and my mind was ready for some time off. I've
Mm-hmm.
worked since I was 14,
Right.
non-stop,
Right.
have been hitting the pavement, so it's different when you knew that you was ready. I was ready for a break. I
Mm-hmm.
was at a point where I was actively looking prior to being laid off, prior to
Mm-hmm.
COVID, trying to be, go somewhere else because I wasn't happy at that company. I just didn't they didn't the department I worked with was the worst I've ever worked with. And so I knew I was already ready, um but when my colleagues was like, are you okay? And I was like, no, I'm fine. They was like, are you sure? Because I've always had control. I always worked. They knew I was a single mom. I'm passionate about being a mom. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't fuck with my
Right.
kid. Like
Right.
that, they just knew who I was. They knew how passionate I was about providing for my son and giving him
Mm-hmm.
the things that I didn't have as a kid. So they were like, are you sure you're okay? And I didn't expect it to go this long and to be this bad, because I'm definitely not how I felt in May.
Yeah.
you know
Right.
Although I do still love getting my kid up and whatever, that right there brightens up my day. But um all the unknown, the hustle, and trying to, how it is, like trying
Yeah.
to grind to get money, and it's
Yep.
different. It's a whole different aspect. And I had to put my mind in a entrepreneur. It forced me there because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not relying on a paycheck every 15th and the last day of the month anymore.
Right.
And all the other things as far as like benefits, no more bonus, no more
Oh,
raise, no more stock, no more, all those, no more benefits being met, healthcare being paid for me and my son,
very
20
true.
years I didn't have to come out of pocket for that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot, a lot more. Just not having a job, you lose all of that. And so at first I was like, okay, I'll just work contract, I'll work contract and just, rock that or whatever. But it takes a whole different road. And I feel like, at the end of the day, um despite going through depression and everything like that, I still feel the positive, aspect of it. God has a reason for everything. I'm supposed to sit in this shit.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like 2021 is going to be amazing going forward for all of us for good reason. I feel like COVID was the reason for us to all get our shit together. and
Right.
really deal with our inner selves and our, inner demons and the things that we just never wanted to deal with. So
Mm-hmm.
God had us saying,
Hmm.
sit your ass in the house, and
Right.
now you're gonna go stir crazy on trying to fix some shit up. So I mean, like I said, I feel like it's just a reason for me and a lot of us, to go through these mental issues and try to have 100% control over our minds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
A lot of, having that, I guess, moment to reflect and
Mhm.
be introspective. I think you have some people who actively run away from that, but I think a lot of people
Yeah.
really don't consider it until they have to.
Yeah.
um
Absolutely.
because what I believe, when you hear about domestic violence and an increase in people
Yeah.
trying to get a divorce or separating due to COVID, you
Mhm.
just like, for the first time maybe in your entire life, you have to sit with yourself, right?
Mhm.
And then you got a hard problem sitting with yourself. So if you got a hard problem sitting with yourself, you definitely can't sit
Yeah.
next to the person next to you without,
Mhm.
transferring some of that energy onto them.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to convert all the not so pretty or shortcomings or negative parts within yourself.
Mhm.
So I think for everybody, including you and I, COVID has really taught us to, number one, prepare for the worst,
Yes.
because
Absolutely.
this shit
Absolutely.
this shit was in nobody's plan for sure. You know what I'm
Yeah.
like? Ain't nobody planned for the world to just stop,
Yeah.
and everything be altered, from finances to healthcare to lifestyle to, your mood and emotions and relationships.
Mhm.
And, nobody planned for this shit.
Yeah.
All the surprise deaths and everything.
Yeah.
Nobody planned for this shit. So I think COVID, if nothing else, has taught everybody to stay prepared, and
Mm.
more so be willing to travel to that dark place before that
Mhm.
dark place comes to you.
Yeah.
Because if you travel to that dark place first and you prepare for whatever could happen, then whatever happens, you'll in some way, form, or fashion, you be all right. you
Yeah.
know and you
Exactly.
to the point of like earning potential. I think a lot of people have realized that, hey man, like, you thinking you gonna work for 50 years and retire and live on your 401k, you realizing that money, even if you hadn't got let go, that money probably wasn't enough.
Ain't shit. Yeah.
And I
With
think,
stock and share, it just how
yeah,
the price is, it ain't worth shit now. So
nah,
you prepare, and like I said, like when I started oil and gas, I was just like, oh, I'm gonna work and I'm gonna bust my ass on work for one company and I'm gonna retire, and it's not that way.
nah,
And I appreciate it more because it only helps me to prepare for whoever will listen, or whoever, especially my son and my nieces and nephews, to yeah, do right, get a degree and everything like that, but always
mm-hmm,
prepare for the worst, and
mm-hmm,
always look out for yourself, and your family, because no matter how good or how, you try to do the right thing and do right by, people, just always expect unexpected. COVID is unexpected,
yeah,
and if we don't look back at this time to think that there's just a lot of things that can creep up on us out of
mm-hmm,
nowhere. And if we're
right,
not prepared for it, then we're gonna be right back into this, right back right back in 2020, And
for sure.
so it helped me to like, really look out for myself,
Right.
and mentally, physically, emotionally, at the end of the day, when all of, money and everything that think is going to get you
Mm-hmm.
is not,
Right.
it's not going to get you there. If you don't have, you put yourself first and mentally prepare yourself for, just the issues that you just never know. You just think, okay, I'm gonna deal with it. And I'm gonna deal with it later, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
busy.
Right.
It's gonna come back. It's gonna come back to haunt you, and it's just best just to deal with it when it's fresh.
For sure.
You don't want to have to keep revisiting it forever.
Yeah, hell no.
Yeah, yeah.